The vast darkness of space lit up with unfamiliar lights as the massive alien vessels entered Earth's solar system. Humanity had long prepared for this moment, but preparation never quite matched reality. Captain Tom Reed stood rigid in his formal military uniform, watching the view screen as the alien delegation approached the United Nations spaceport. At 45 years old, Reed was a decorated veteran of Earth's space forces with a weathered face that showed every year of hard service. His superiors had chosen him for his calm demeanor and sharp mind. "They're bigger than I expected," muttered Officer Bill Jones, standing beside Reed. Reed nodded silently. The aliens called themselves the Galactic Empire, a union of 17 species spanning hundreds of star systems. Their ships dwarfed Earth's largest vessels, making humanity's best technology look like children's toys. The lead alien diplomat, who had introduced himself as Ambassador Krell, stepped forward from the docking tube. He stood nearly 7 feet tall with bluish skin and 4 arms. His eyes, 3 of them, scanned the human delegation with what Reed recognized as poorly disguised contempt. "We welcome Earth to the greater galactic community," Krell announced through a translation device. His words were friendly, but his tone suggested speaking to lesser beings. "Your species has potential to serve a useful function within our empire." Reed felt a chill at the word serve, but maintained his professional smile. The following days brought a whirlwind of meetings and technological exchanges. On the surface, the empire offered trade agreements, cultural exchanges, and technological assistance. Reed attended every meeting, watched every demonstration, and listened carefully to what the aliens said and what they didn't say. Late one night, as Reed reviewed recordings of the day's meetings in his private quarters, he noticed a pattern. The Empire representatives consistently avoided questions about other newly discovered species. They steered conversations toward Earth's resources: metals, water, and biological diversity. "Computer, show me the mineral survey the Empire requested access to," Reed said. The screen displayed a comprehensive map of Earth's largest mining operations and untapped natural resources. The Empire had requested this information for compatibility assessment. Reed's suspicions grew when he was invited aboard the Imperial flagship for a tour. While his hosts showed him impressive technology, he spotted something they hadn't intended: a holographic display briefly visible through an open doorway, showing Earth completely sectioned into mining quadrants. That night, Reed used his security clearance to access a restricted communication channel to General Laura White, Earth's head of defense. "The technological gifts are impressive, General, but they're holding back the important advancements," Reed reported. "They've given us small improvements to energy production, but nothing on their propulsion or weapons systems." "What's your assessment, Captain?" asked General White, her face grim on the screen. "They're sizing us up for colonization, not alliance. I've seen enough to know they consider us primitive. The Empire has done this before. They find developing worlds, pretend to offer friendship, then strip the planet of resources and turn the population into a servant class." General White leaned forward. "Can you get proof?" Reed nodded. "I planted a small device in their communication center during the tour. It's recording everything. I'll have solid evidence within days. Be careful, Tom, if they discover what you're doing." "I know the risk, General, but Earth needs to know what we're really facing." 3 days later, Reed's suspicions were confirmed when his listening device captured a conversation between Ambassador Krell and the Imperial Fleet Commander. "How soon can we begin the resource extraction?" asked the commander. "Once the humans sign our friendship treaty, we can start immediately," Krell replied. "They're so eager for our technology, they'll sign anything. Within a year, we'll have mining operations on every continent. And the humans, they'll make adequate workers. Those who resist can be dealt with. It's the same procedure we used on the Trell homeworld." Reed sent the recording directly to Earth's unified government. Within hours, he was recalled from the diplomatic team for an emergency meeting. Earth now knew the truth about their first contact with alien life, and they would need to prepare accordingly. In the deepest chamber of an abandoned mining facility on a dusty asteroid in the belt, Chief Engineer Jane Miller stood before a massive skeletal frame. Her work light cast long shadows across what would become humanity's greatest secret and last hope. "Hand me the plasma torch," she said to her assistant, not taking her eyes off the intricate wiring she was installing. The assistant, Mark, passed the tool. "Do you really think we can pull this off? Building something the Empire can't detect?" Jane wiped sweat from her forehead, leaving a smudge of grease. At 38, she had been the youngest head engineer at NASA before being recruited for Project Nemesis. Her red hair was tied back in a practical ponytail, and her hands showed the calluses of someone who built things herself, rather than just designing them. "We have to," she replied simply. "Otherwise, Earth becomes just another mining colony." Project Nemesis had begun the day after Captain Reed's warning reached Earth's leaders. While publicly maintaining friendly relations with the Empire, Earth secretly gathered its best minds for an unprecedented task: building a warship unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Deep within the asteroid, 300 engineers and scientists worked around the clock. The facility had been completely sealed off from outside communication. No one entered or left. Families were told their loved ones were on a classified research mission. In truth, they were creating Earth's first true stealth battleship. General White arrived for her weekly inspection, stepping carefully through the construction area. Workers rushed about like ants, each focused on their task. The ship was taking shape, sleek and predatory, unlike the bulky Imperial vessels. "How's the stealth system coming?" White asked Jane. Jane led the general to a sealed chamber where a section of the ship's hull floated in a testing apparatus. "This is our breakthrough," Jane explained, activating the system. The hull section simply vanished, not just visually, but from all sensors. "It doesn't just absorb scanning signals like traditional stealth," Jane explained with poorly hidden pride. "It redirects them through a subspace pocket. According to all Imperial scanning technology, this ship will literally not exist." "You're certain their sensors won't detect it?" White pressed. "We reverse-engineered their scanning technology from the gifts they gave us." Jane smiled thinly. "They never imagined we could understand it so quickly, let alone improve upon it." Across the facility, weapons specialists were adapting Earth's missile technology with elements of Imperial energy weapons. Navigation experts developed systems that could plot courses no Imperial ship could follow. Communication specialists created undetectable quantum-entangled communication arrays. Captain Reed, now assigned as the future commander of Nemesis, trained with a hand-picked crew in a sealed simulation chamber. They practiced maneuvers that the Empire would consider impossible or suicidal. Again, Reed ordered after a failed simulation, "The Empire fights by their rulebook. We need to throw that book away." His crew, exhausted but determined, reset the simulation. They knew what failure meant for Earth. 6 months into construction, a security breach nearly exposed everything. An Imperial diplomatic vessel requested permission to visit the asteroid belt for a geological survey. In reality, they had detected unusual power readings. Within hours, all work at the facility halted. Power systems were shut down. 300 people sat in darkness, barely breathing, as the Imperial ship passed within 10,000 kilometers. When the danger passed, work resumed with even greater urgency. On the final day of construction, Jane stood with General White and Captain Reed as the last systems came online. The ship hung in the asteroid's hollowed-out heart, a sleek, dark vessel bristling with hidden weapons. "She's beautiful," Reed said quietly. "And deadly," added Jane. "The Empire thinks they're dealing with primitive humans who can barely reach their own moon. They have no idea what's coming." General White nodded solemnly. "We originally planned for another 3 months of testing, but intelligence says the Empire is losing patience with our diplomatic delays. They're positioning ships near Earth. We may need Nemesis sooner than we thought. Jane looked at her creation, the product of human ingenuity, desperation, and the fierce drive to remain free. She'll be ready, Jane promised. When the time comes, the Empire will learn why they should have feared us from the start. The Grand Meeting Hall of the United Nations fell silent as Ambassador Krell approached the podium. His large frame cast a shadow over the assembled human representatives, his three eyes scanning the crowd with cold calculation. The patience of the Galactic Empire has limits, Krell announced, his translator device giving his words an artificial flatness that somehow made them more threatening. For 6 months, we have engaged in what you call cultural exchange and diplomatic relations. These preliminaries have now concluded. World leaders exchanged nervous glances. In the back of the room, Captain Reed stood rigidly beside General White, both wearing formal uniforms but no visible expressions. The Empire requires access to Earth's resources, Krell continued. Effective immediately, we demand 50% of all mining operations, control of your oceans for our water processing ships, and the establishment of Imperial bases on each continent. Gasps rippled through the assembly. The President of the United Nations Security Council rose to her feet. Ambassador, surely there is room for negotiation. These demands would devastate our economy and— These are not negotiable points, Krell interrupted. They are the terms of your entry into the Empire. You will, of course, receive the benefits of Imperial protection and limited technology sharing. Reed leaned closer to General White. Limited technology. Just enough to help us dig our own graves faster, he whispered. High above Earth, Commander Grack stood on the bridge of the Imperial flagship, the Dominion. Unlike the diplomatic Krell, Grack was a military officer with a reputation for ruthless efficiency. His gray, leathery skin bore scars from dozens of planetary subjugations. Earth would be just another notch in his record. Status of the fleet, Grack asked his second-in-command. 20 battleships now in position, Commander. 5 more arriving within 2 days. The humans have nothing that could challenge even one of our vessels. Grack nodded, his eyes fixed on the blue planet displayed on the main view screen. And yet, something feels wrong. These humans are too calm in the face of our power. Sir, their diplomatic responses show no panic. They ask for more time to consider and further cultural exchange. No species faces imperial demands with such composure. Grack's eyes narrowed. Increased surveillance. I want every transmission from that planet monitored. Back on Earth, an emergency council meeting convened in a secure underground facility. We need more time, the defense secretary argued. Nemesis needs at least another week of testing. We don't have a week, General White countered. The Empire is positioning more ships every day. Intelligence suggests they're growing suspicious of our delaying tactics. The president looked exhausted. What exactly did Ambassador Krell say would happen if we refuse their demands? Reed stepped forward. He was very clear, Madam President. They'll begin what they call resource liberation, whether we agree or not. That means orbital bombardment of key infrastructure, followed by forced extraction of our resources and our people. Those who survive would become a labor force, Reed said grimly. The Empire has a pattern. We've seen it in their historical records they didn't bother to hide from us. The room fell silent before the president spoke again. How soon can Nemesis be ready? 5 days at minimum, General White answered. Chief Engineer Miller is working around the clock. At that moment, a junior officer burst into the room, face pale. Madam President, the Imperial flagship just sent a direct communication. They're demanding an answer to their terms within 7 days. After that, they say they'll help us make the right decision. The president's jaw tightened. So we have 1 week before they attack. Reed exchanged glances with General White. Nemesis might be our only card to play, but it's a good one. The Empire has no idea what's coming. Tell Chief Engineer Miller she has 5 days, the president ordered. And Captain Reed, prepare your crew. In 1 week, you'll either save Earth or witness its fall. As the meeting adjourned, Reed looked at the satellite image of the Imperial fleet gathering above Earth. He had seen their ships, their weapons, their arrogance up close. They thought humans were primitive, easily conquered. They were about to learn how dangerous a corner humanity could be. The Nemesis floated silently in the hollowed asteroid's docking bay, its dark hull absorbing the dim emergency lights. Despite its massive size, nearly half a kilometer long, the warship possessed an elegant, predatory shape unlike anything humans had built before. Captain Tom Reed walked through the main corridor, feeling the ship come to life around him. Crew members rushed to their stations, faces tense but determined. None of them had expected to launch 2 days early, but the Empire had moved up its timetable. Status report, Reed called out as he entered the bridge. First Officer Lisa Park turned from her console. All systems coming online, Captain. Engineering reports the stealth systems are functioning at 98% efficiency. Reed nodded, taking his command chair. The bridge was compact and functional, designed for efficiency rather than show. Screens displayed every aspect of the ship's operations, with the main view screen showing their hiding place inside the asteroid. Communications. Secure quantum link to Earth Command established. Officer Dan Wilson replied. No detectable emissions. Reed tapped his console. Engine room status. Chief Engineer Jane Miller's voice came through. Background noise suggesting frantic activity. Main drives are green, Captain. Reactor is stable, but I should warn you, we haven't completed full stress testing. I can't guarantee how she'll handle at maximum acceleration. Understood, Chief. We'll try not to break your ship on the first day. Our ship, Jane corrected. And you better not. I'm coming along to make sure of it. Reed raised an eyebrow. The chief engineer wasn't supposed to be aboard for the maiden voyage, but he couldn't deny they might need her expertise. Navigation. Plot a course that keeps us in the asteroid belt's shadow until we reach Jupiter. We'll use the gas giant's radiation field as additional cover. The young navigation officer, Ben Taylor, nodded. Despite being only 28, he had shown remarkable skill in the simulations. Course plotted, sir. The Empire's patrol ships won't see us coming. Reed took a deep breath and opened the shipwide communication channel. All hands, this is the captain. We launch in 5 minutes. This isn't a test or a drill. Earth is facing an ultimatum from the Empire, and we are now the most important ship in human history. Each of you was chosen because you're the best at what you do. Today, humanity needs the best. He paused, looking around at his crew of 150 specialists. The Empire believes humans are primitive and predictable. Let's show them how wrong they are. The asteroid's outer doors slowly opened, revealing the star-filled blackness of space. Nemesis glided forward silently, its revolutionary engines producing no visible exhaust. Stealth systems fully engaged, announced Security Chief Frank Cooper. We're invisible to all known scanning methods. Weapons status. Reed asked. All weapons armed but powered down to minimize energy signature, replied Weapons Officer Mary Johnson. Ready to bring online at your command. The ship accelerated smoothly, leaving the asteroid belt behind. Ahead loomed Jupiter, its massive storm systems swirling across its surface. Beyond it, barely visible against the blackness, hung the Imperial fleet in Earth orbit. Picking up Imperial communications, Officer Wilson reported. They have no idea we're here. Their deadline for Earth's surrender is now 5 days. Reed nodded grimly. 5 days to show them humanity won't surrender without a fight. As they approached Jupiter, a warning alarm sounded. First Officer Park checked her console. Imperial patrol ship changing course, heading directly for us. The bridge crew froze. Had they been detected already? Hold position, Reed ordered calmly. Passive scans only. The Imperial vessel, resembling a metallic squid with multiple sensor arrays extending like tentacles, moved closer. They're conducting a standard patrol sweep, Cooper reported after studying their movement pattern, not targeting us specifically. The patrol ship passed within 10 kilometers of Nemesis, close enough that they could see its illuminated viewports through the main screen. Inside, alien figures moved about, unaware that a human warship watched them. They didn't see us, Park whispered as the Imperial ship continued on its way. Reed allowed himself a small smile. Jane's stealth system works. Now let's see how fast this ship can really go. Set course for the outer edge of the Imperial fleet. It's time humanity stopped hiding. Nemesis surged forward, accelerating to speeds no human vessel had achieved before, carrying Earth's hopes with it. Commander Grack paced the bridge of the Dominion, irritation visible in every movement of his massive frame. The officers around him worked in tense silence, aware of his growing impatience. 4 days until the humans' surrender deadline. And still they delay with meaningless diplomatic messages, Grack growled. Their leaders request clarification of our terms, as if the terms weren't perfectly clear. His second-in-command, Officer Trell, approached cautiously. Commander, perhaps they genuinely need time to prepare their planet for the transition. Their civilization is primitive compared to ours. Grack stopped pacing and fixed his 4 eyes on Trell. No, they're stalling. But why? They have no military capability that could challenge even our smallest vessel. He turned to the tactical display showing Earth and the Imperial fleet surrounding it. Increase scanner sweeps of their orbital installations. I want to know what they're hiding. Aboard the Nemesis, Captain Reed studied the holographic display of the Imperial fleet. The massive formation consisted of 25 warships arranged in a standard Imperial defensive pattern around Earth. The Dominion, twice the size of any other vessel, sat at the center of the formation. Their confidence is their weakness, Reed noted. Look at the gaps in their sensor coverage. First Officer Park nodded. Standard Imperial doctrine. They position their ships to optimize weapon coverage, not detection capability. Because no one has ever attacked an Imperial fleet before, Reed added. Not successfully, at least. Chief Engineer Jane Miller entered the bridge, wiping engine grease from her hands. Captain, all systems are at optimal performance. The particle cannons are fully charged, and the modified missiles are armed. Reed nodded. Good. We strike in 1 hour. He tapped his console. All hands to battle stations. Prepare for combat maneuvers. Throughout the ship, crew members moved with practiced efficiency. In the weapons bay, technicians performed final checks on Nemesis's unique armaments, a combination of human missile technology and reverse-engineered Imperial energy weapons. Target the communications relay on the outer patrol ship, Reed ordered as they silently approached the fleet's perimeter. Weapons Officer Johnson, you have a clear shot. Mary Johnson's fingers hovered over her console. At 34, she had been the top weapons specialist in Earth's Navy before joining Project Nemesis. Target locked, Captain. Firing on your command. Reed took a deep breath. This would be humanity's first attack against the Empire, the moment that would change everything. Fire. A concentrated beam of energy, invisible to the naked eye, but devastatingly powerful, lanced out from Nemesis. It struck the Imperial patrol ship's communication array with surgical precision. The array exploded silently in the vacuum of space. Direct hit, Johnson reported. Their communications are down. They're switching to emergency protocols, Communications Officer Wilson added. But they can't signal the fleet without giving away their position to us. Reed nodded. As expected. Now for Phase 2. Helm, bring us around to attack Vector B. The Nemesis glided silently through space, circling behind another Imperial vessel, a medium cruiser on the fleet's outer edge. They still don't know we're here, Security Chief Cooper confirmed, monitoring the Imperial communications they could intercept. The disabled ship is trying to communicate using light signals. Reed studied the tactical display. Target their engine nacelles. 2 shots, then immediate withdrawal to Point Charlie. Johnson nodded. Targeting engine nacelles. Ready to fire. Fire. Two energy beams struck the Imperial cruiser's engines in quick succession. The massive vessel lurched as secondary explosions rippled along its hull. Direct hits, Johnson called out. Their engines are disabled. On the Imperial cruiser's bridge, chaos erupted. Warning alarms blared as officers shouted over each other. What hit us? The cruiser's captain demanded. Unknown, sir, his tactical officer replied. Sensors detected no approach, no energy signature, nothing. Emergency power to weapons. Scan all sectors. Back on the Nemesis, Reed watched the Imperial vessel's frantic response. They're firing blindly, Park noted as energy weapons discharged in random patterns around the crippled ship. Exactly as predicted, Reed said. Helm, bring us to Point Charlie and prepare for the next strike. The Nemesis moved away, untouched and undetected, as confusion spread through the Imperial fleet. On the Dominion, Commander Grack received the alarming reports. 2 ships attacked. Impossible, he roared. Nothing approached them. The reports are confirmed, Commander, Officer Trull responded. Both vessels were struck by weapons of unknown origin. No attacker was detected before, during, or after the strikes. Grack's face darkened with fury, and though he would never admit it. Fear. All ships, battle formation Alpha, he ordered. Full sensor sweeps of all sectors. Nothing gets near this fleet without my knowing. As the Imperial ships scrambled to reposition, Reed allowed himself a small smile. They're panicking, he observed, breaking their carefully planned formation. What's our next target, Captain? Johnson asked. Reed studied the display, where the Imperial ships now moved in a chaotic pattern, firing randomly into empty space. Their supply ship, he decided. Without supplies, their deadlines become meaningless. Then we disappear again. Let them spend the night wondering where we'll strike next. The Nemesis turned silently toward its next target, while behind it, the mighty Imperial fleet fired frantically at shadows. Commander Grack's fist slammed down on the tactical table, causing the holographic display to flicker. 3 days had passed since the first attack, and 4 Imperial ships now drifted powerless in space. The once perfect formation of the fleet had dissolved into a defensive cluster. Find it, Grack roared, his face contorted with rage. I want every scanning ship we have deployed. Commander, Officer Trull said cautiously, we've deployed all available scanning vessels. The specialized detection ships will arrive from the central systems tomorrow, but tomorrow may be too late. Grack cut him off. This phantom ship strikes without warning, cripples our vessels, and vanishes. The crew is talking about ghosts and demons. Perhaps it's using some form of cloaking technology we haven't encountered before, suggested the science officer, a thin alien with pale blue skin. Grack turned his glare on the scientist. Impossible. Our sensors can detect all known forms of stealth technology. Nothing can hide from an Imperial fleet. Yet something is, Trull said quietly. On the bridge of the Nemesis, Captain Reed studied the tactical display, showing the Imperial fleet's new defensive posture. The once proud armada now huddled together like frightened animals. They've called for reinforcements, Intelligence Officer Alex Ward reported. Alex, a quiet woman with short black hair and sharp eyes, had spent the last 3 days analyzing Imperial communications. Specialized tracking vessels. They'll arrive tomorrow. Reed nodded. Then we strike again tonight. What have you learned about their scanning patterns? Alex brought up a detailed analysis on her screen. They're rotating frequencies every 14 minutes. There's a 3-second gap during each rotation where their coverage is incomplete. 3 seconds. First Officer Park frowned. That's barely enough time to move into position, let alone attack. It will have to be enough, Reed said. He turned to Navigation Officer Taylor. Can you plot a course that brings us within firing range during one of these gaps? Taylor studied the data, his young face serious. Yes, sir, but the timing would need to be perfect. We'd have less than 1 second margin for error. And we'd need to fire the moment we're in position. Weapons Officer Johnson added. No time to confirm targeting. Reed nodded. Then we'll pre-calculate everything. Chief Miller, can the engines handle a burst of maximum acceleration followed by an immediate full stop? Jane Miller, who had barely left the engine room in 3 days, appeared on the communication screen. Dark circles underlined her eyes, but her voice was steady. We can do it, Captain. I've reinforced the structural supports around the main drive. Just don't make it a habit. No promises, Chief, Reed replied with a grim smile. Throughout the day, the crew prepared for their most dangerous mission yet. The Nemesis would need to approach the Imperial fleet at maximum speed, decelerate instantly to firing position, strike a specific target, and retreat, all within the 3-second sensor gap. As the ship moved into position, Reed addressed the bridge crew. We have one chance at this. If we're detected, we'll face the entire fleet's firepower. But if we succeed, we'll destroy their central communication hub. The officers nodded silently, eyes fixed on their stations. Beginning approach in 30 seconds, Taylor announced, his fingers dancing across the navigation controls. Reed settled into his command chair. Weapons locked on target. Confirmed, Johnson replied. Targeting their central communication array. Stealth systems at maximum, Cooper added. But they won't hide us if we miss our window. The seconds ticked down. On the view screen, the Imperial fleet grew larger. Approaching sensor gap window, Alex Ward reported. 5 seconds. 4, 3. Execute, Reed ordered. The Nemesis surged forward at maximum acceleration, its frame vibrating with the strain. Then, precisely on schedule, it decelerated violently. For a split second, the ship hung in space directly behind the Imperial command vessel's communication array. Fire, Reed commanded. 3 concentrated energy beams lanced out simultaneously, striking the massive communication dish. The structure erupted in a spectacular explosion that rippled across the command ship's hull. Hit confirmed. Withdrawing. Taylor called out, already executing the escape maneuver. The Nemesis twisted away just as Imperial sensors came back online. Behind them, alarms blared throughout the Imperial fleet as they realized their central communications had been destroyed. They're firing blindly again, Park reported as energy weapons flashed harmlessly through empty space behind them. Reed allowed himself to breathe again as they reached a safe distance. Damage report. Minor structural strain in sections 3 through 7, Cooper replied. Nothing serious. We made it, Captain. On the Dominion, Commander Grack watched in helpless fury as his communications officers scrambled to establish alternate channels. It attacked again, and we saw nothing, he shouted. How is this possible? The science officer approached cautiously. Commander, I've been analyzing the attack patterns. This ship, whatever it is, seems to be using tactics no Imperial commander would consider. The approach vectors, the targeting choices, they're completely outside our strategic doctrine. Grack's eyes narrowed. The humans. It must be them. He turned to Trell. Prepare a message to Earth. Tell them we know about their secret ship, and if it attacks again, we will begin planetary bombardment immediately. As this message was being prepared, Intelligence Officer Alex Ward made a startling discovery aboard the Nemesis. Captain, I've been monitoring Imperial communications with their subject worlds, she reported. There's coded chatter I've been working to decrypt. It seems we're not the only ones fighting back. There are resistance movements on at least 3 other worlds. Reed leaned forward, interested. Can you contact them? Alex nodded slowly. I believe so. And if we coordinate our efforts, we could strike at multiple Imperial targets simultaneously. Reed finished. Find a secure way to reach them. It's time the Empire learned they've made more enemies than they can handle. The observation deck of the Nemesis offered a panoramic view of space, currently filled with the distant lights of Earth and the much closer glow of the Imperial fleet. Captain Reed stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching as intelligence officer Alex Ward worked at a specialized communication station. "Connection established," Alex announced, looking up from her console. "The encryption is holding. They can hear us now." Reed nodded and stepped forward. "This is Captain Tom Reed of Earth Vessel Nemesis. We received your coded transmissions and offer our alliance." The communication screen flickered before resolving into 3 separate images, representatives from worlds conquered by the Empire. One appeared reptilian with iridescent scales, another had 4 arms similar to Ambassador Krell, but with gray skin, and the third looked almost human except for cat-like eyes. "I am Dorn of Proxima," the reptilian being said. "For 20 cycles, our people have endured Imperial rule." Vila of the Centauri Systems, the 4-armed figure, introduced herself. "The Empire stripped our world bare 10 cycles ago." "Tarak, representing what remains of the Epsilon Resistance," said the third. "Your ship has become legend already, Captain Reed. The ghost that haunts the Empire." Reed allowed himself a small smile. "Not a ghost, just humans using technology the Empire never expected us to master." "How have you remained undetected?" Vila asked, leaning closer to her screen. "The Imperial scanning technology is supposed to be unsurpassable." Chief Engineer Jane Miller stepped into view. "Nothing is unsurpassable. We found the flaws in their scanning systems and exploited them." The conversation continued for hours as the Resistance leaders shared information about Imperial weaknesses, patrol schedules, and communication protocols. A plan slowly took shape. A coordinated strike against the Empire unlike anything attempted before. "We have a weapon," Reed explained, "something we've held in reserve. But we'll only get one shot with it." Across the Nemesis, crew members prepared for the final confrontation. In the weapons bay, technicians armed the ship's most powerful system, a modified version of Earth's electromagnetic pulse technology, combined with Imperial energy distribution systems. On the Dominion, Commander Grack received the message he had been waiting for. "The specialized tracking ships have arrived, Commander," Officer Trell reported. 4 vessels equipped with the latest detection technology. Grack's face showed the first satisfaction it had felt in days. "Deploy them immediately. Find this phantom ship. When we destroy it, we'll turn its remains into an orbital monument around the humans' world." "And the ultimatum?" Trell asked. "Earth's deadline for surrender expires tomorrow." "Begin targeting their major cities," Grack ordered coldly. "When we find their ship, we'll destroy it first, then their world. They must learn the price of defiance." Unknown to Grack, the specialized tracking ships carried more than advanced detection systems. Hidden aboard each vessel were Resistance operatives who had infiltrated the crew during their construction. As the tracking ships deployed into a wide search pattern, the Nemesis moved silently into position. Simultaneously, on 3 Imperial outposts across the galaxy, Resistance fighters seized control of key defense systems. "All Resistance forces report ready," Alex announced on the Nemesis bridge. "Awaiting your command, Captain." Reed took a deep breath. "Send the signal. All forces attack on my mark." He turned to Weapons Officer Johnson. "Target the Dominion with the pulse weapon. The moment we fire, we'll be visible to their sensors." Johnson nodded, her fingers poised over the controls. "Target locked, Captain." "Communications, broadcast on all Imperial frequencies," Reed ordered. Officer Wilson opened the channel. "Ready, sir." Reed's voice was calm but carried unmistakable authority. "Commander Grack, this is Captain Reed of Earth Vessel Nemesis. Your empire has threatened my world and many others. Those days are over. We offer you one chance to withdraw your forces and recognize our independence." On the Dominion, Grack's face contorted with rage as he heard the transmission. "Found you at last. All ships, converge on that signal. Weapons, prepare tow." "Mark," Reed commanded. The Nemesis fired its pulse weapon, a massive surge of energy that washed over the Dominion in expanding waves. Throughout the Imperial flagship, systems failed as the specialized pulse disrupted their technology on a fundamental level. Simultaneously, resistance fighters on the tracking ships seized control, turning the vessel's weapons against other Imperial ships. Across the galaxy, Imperial outposts found their communication and defense systems suddenly compromised. On the Dominion's darkened bridge, emergency lights cast an eerie glow over the confused crew. Commander Grack stared in disbelief as his mighty vessel drifted powerless. "Impossible," he whispered. The view screen flickered back to life, showing Captain Reed's face. "Your fleet is neutralized," Commander Reed stated. "Your outposts across 3 sectors are under resistance control. The Empire's grip is broken." Reed leaned forward. "Now shall we discuss new terms? Not as conquerors and subjects, but as equals." 2 days later, on Earth, crowds gathered to watch as the Nemesis descended into the atmosphere, escorted by smaller Earth vessels. The once secret ship now moved in full view, its dark hull gleaming in the sunlight. Captain Reed stood on the bridge, watching Earth grow larger on the view screen. "The Imperial delegation has agreed to the new treaty," First Officer Park reported. "Full independence for Earth and the other resistance worlds." Reed nodded. "And a new era begins, not just for Earth, but for the galaxy." As Nemesis landed to a hero's welcome, the crew understood what they had accomplished. Their ship, built in desperate secrecy, had changed the course of galactic history. The Empire had learned a crucial lesson: never underestimate humans.